Hi, tutors. Let's talk about co-creating tools. The idea here is that you want to leave your students with something to use. In our flow of the tutoring session, I've put this in the meaning-making stage. And so when you're thinking about co-creating tools, this is part of the process. So as you're digging into things, you already know where the student's at. You're kind of working through things. This is where you're giving them tools to understand. You're doing some meaning making. And after you've co-created the tools, maybe you can see if they can use the tools by themselves to show you where they are now. Let's dig into it though. The purpose of co-creating tools. The idea here is that you want to come up with some sort of thing that they can take with them, a strategy, a graphic organizer or something that either helps them chunk the concepts into smaller bits, organize the ideas that they're trying to learn, sequence a process, and the other purpose is that these three things are something that they can reference in the future. So it's not just they practice it during your tutoring session, but they have something that they can reference going forward. So some examples. Some examples of tools that you could co-create with your students would be like mind maps, where you take a concept and you kind of branch it out into the other concepts that are connected to it. Another one would be a flow chart, where maybe you have to approach a problem differently depending on certain junctures, right? Like if it's a one variable problem or a two variable problem, or if it's a one force acting on the object or two forces acting on the object. So a flow chart can kind of help delineate different approaches depending on the type of problem, right? Another option would be to actually kind of make a procedure list that can help them guide their way through maybe a complicated sort of task or complicated process. The reason I say co-create your tools is that it's not that you're going to curate this tool and bring it to your tutoring session and then hand it to them, or send them a screenshot or whatever. The co-create means you want to actually build this tool with them because it needs to make sense to them. And if they're drawing it in their notebook, if they're drawing it on the virtual whiteboard, then that's the more interaction that they're having with this tool. So they actually understand how the pieces of it fit together and how it actually is useful to organize ideas, sequence ideas, chunk ideas. And that way, when they do reference it, it's something that's familiar, something that they've put their own kind of creativity, their own writing, their own stamp onto. So it's not something you have to come prepared with, but something you could work on building together when you're trying to understand a concept. So let's take an example here. So what if you're trying to help a student determine slope? So this could be something in chemistry, physics, or math, which is why I like the example. On the right here, I've created a flow chart of sorts. It's going to go from top to bottom. I could have drawn arrows to make them more obvious. Here we are. So determine the slope of a line. We've talked together as me and the student, and we've decided the first and easiest step is just to label 2 points on the line. Ideally, they're like easy points, right? Not like complicated in between tick marks type stuff. The next thing is to draw a triangle that connects the points. So you go out horizontally from one point and vertically from the other point until they meet. You got this cute little triangle. Using the sides of the triangle, determine how far apart their x-axis values are and their y-axis values. Now I put these two steps on the same plane because it doesn't matter which one you do first, right? You just have to do both. So here we've got 2 days between the x values and 2 centimeters between the y values. Then using those values, complete the rise over run ratio. So here we might draw on the slide like 2 days over 2 centimeters. So the slope is 1 in this case. Simple example. And then this flow chart, since I had them type it out, I had them write it out, I had them draw it out, something. now it's something that they can use in the future. So speaking of, in these videos, I've been having you all screenshot certain slides, and I'm asking you to have them ready for you when you are doing your first tutoring session. So for this one, go ahead and screenshot this slide here. We've got our 3 examples of different tools you could co-create with your student, but I've left 3 blank squares as well for you to add your own, because I'm sure these aren't the only tools you can create. Maybe you can do Venn diagrams, maybe you can draw pictures, analogies, etc. And so I want to leave some space for you all to kind of develop your own tools that you use with your students, and let me know what you end up using, because maybe in a future training it could really help future tutors. All right, good luck.